Since our founding, Roach Farm and Garden believes in some simple things: quality service, the best products for today's gardener, and the knowledge and experience it takes to make your next outdoor project a success. When you shop with us, we put you first. We guarantee excellence from our team and the best shopping experience. At Roach Farm and Garden, our heritage continues. We like to think of it as just doing business the right way. Roach Farm and Garden, serving you in 2 convenient locations.
Hello, I'm Sandra Deal, First Lady of Georgia. I'm excited to share with your community a wonderful art exhibit from our state art collection. These state treasures are a part of an expansive 600-piece collection that chronicles the work of Georgia artists from the 1960s to the 1990s. Formerly known as the Art Bus Program, these works traveled the state on a bus to be exhibited in schools, libraries, and other community venues. The new exhibit, Inspired Georgia, 28 Works from Georgia's State Art Collection, is the first of its kind in decades, and I'm thrilled to be able to share it with you today. The pieces that you are about to see were selected because they represent and celebrate the long history of art and culture in our state. Original works by renowned Georgia artists such as Benny Andrews, Lucinda Bunning, Herbert Creasy, Howard Finster, Ruth Laxon, and Nellie Mae Rowe are included in this exhibit. It is my hope that this exhibit generates a larger conversation in your community about the value and influence of the arts in our lives. I hope that what you see inspires and compels you to learn more about Georgia's artistic heritage. Who knows? Maybe you will be the next great Georgia artist.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Around Town. I'm Elizabeth Graff, and we're here today at the Carnegie Museum here in downtown Dublin, and I have with me Tara Bradshaw. And Tara, you are the director of Main Street Dublin.
I am, yes.
And you have something exciting to tell us about what's going on inside this beautiful historical building.
Well, the newly renovated Dublin Carnegie is playing host for 7 weeks to Inspire Georgia. It's 28 works from the state of Georgia's art collection.
So this is from all around Georgia.
It is. All of these works belong to the state of Georgia. Georgia has about a 600-piece collection. 28 of them were selected for this particular exhibit, and it's the first time that any of this artwork has traveled outside of the Georgia Museum of Art in probably 20 or 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. You know, I was taking a look around, and it's a bunch of different types. You have, there's photographs, and there's paintings, and even crayon.
There is. It's quite a big variety. The curators of this exhibit wanted to show how well-versed the artists were. Some of them are very well-known. Some of them are virtually unknowns. Mm-hmm. And you're right. There's everything from photography to oils to acrylics. I think it's a really well-versed collection.
Yeah, and the way they're displayed, too, you got the large pieces in the back, and you've got some photographs, but also at each piece, as you examine them and you critique them and you ooh and ah all over them, you have a description of the artist and when they were born. And I noticed that there was one, they were born in 1900.
Yes, all of these artists, like I said, it's a wide variety of artists. Some of them and some of the works are quite older, and some of them are relatively new. Just depends on when they were collected.
Mm-hmm. And it's neat when you look at the older ones compared to the new, how there's a difference in them.
Absolutely, there is. Each artist has their own sort of signature on their work, and you can sort of see that as you look through them, the differences between the folk art of Howard Finster or the sketches we have that are Benny Andrews. So yeah, it's really interesting to see that difference.
And also to see in like some of the photographs and some of the drawings and paintings, you could see their way of life back then, because they portray that.
They do. They really do. We have a very interesting video that comes along with this piece of work, and I think it's great because it interviews a couple of the artists, and they sort of explain what their childhood was like and their background and their socioeconomic status in life and how that is reflected in their artwork, and it's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. That is, and I had talked to Tara earlier, and I was looking at some of the paintings, and there was one in particular that, for me, it was a little on the disturbing side, and this before I looked at the video. And then I, made my way around, and then I paused the video, and there she was, the artist, and she was explaining who her inspiration was behind it. And I'm like, okay, I got to go look at it again. It's not disturbing at all. It's very fascinating.
Mm-hmm. You learn something about the artist once you find out what the artwork is actually about. And that's what's so great about this collection is we do have those explanations for some of the pieces, and then some of the pieces we literally have no paper trail. We don't know who the artist is, or maybe we know a name, and but the art is still significant, and it's something that is highly valued by the state of Georgia and Georgia Museum of Art and us, and so it's really neat that way.
Yeah, and there's that one in particular that we had been talking about earlier, you and I, before we started the interview, and it's in the very back, and it's also on the cover of the brochure.
It is. This particular piece was by an artist named Michael Junkin, and that's literally all we know. That was his name. We know nothing about his background. We don't really know when the painting was created, or even when it was purchased by the state. But it was selected as the lead piece of work for all of the marketing materials, just because of that we really are. We don't know the story behind it, but it doesn't make the painting any less significant. It really makes it even more significant. It's a beautiful piece of work.
Yes, it is. And to me, it looks like something you would see if you were flying over, crops in Georgia.
It does. It reminds me a lot of an aerial view of agriculture.
Exactly.
Is really what it looks like. I have no idea if that is truly what the vision behind it was, but that's what's so interesting about it, is everyone can take their own have their own take on it and create their own story behind it.
Right. So what does this mean for the town of Dublin to have something like this here?
Well, I consider it a great honor for us to have it. To have this collection here, it was a competitive process. There were cities from all over the state of Georgia that applied to have this collection hosted, and we were one of 9 chosen. So I consider that pretty significant and pretty important for Dublin, not to mention that it comes on the heels of the first phase of our renovation to this building. We have worked very hard to make sure this building is preserved, and I think it just does nothing but highlight the wonderful architecture and lighting, and it's just wonderful to have it. It is.
So when someone comes in, is there a fee for them to come and view the artwork?
There's no fee. This particular exhibit is free to the public. All we ask is them to sign our guest book. We'd love to know their name and where they're from. They do receive a catalog of all the work with backstories about each artist, and we give that to them as a souvenir. It's a great piece that was put together by the Georgia Museum of Art, and they're just we invite them to come in and hang out as long as they want and look at the pieces and watch our video and really get to know it.
Yeah, and you know what? On a hot day, it's air conditioned in here.
It is. We keep it at a cool 72 degrees to preserve the work. So if you need to beat the heat, if nothing else, come in and see this wonderful collection.
That's right. And you guys are located just in front of the Theatre Dublin.
We are. This is the Carnegie Library, 1904 Carnegie Library. Its address is 311 Academy Avenue, and you're right, it's located just in front of Theatre Dublin and City Hall.
What are the hours? I know you guys open up at 10 because that's when I met her at the door.
Yes. We are open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 6, on Sundays from 12 to 6, and the collection will be in Dublin until September 11th.
Great. And if anyone wants to find out more about what's happening in downtown Dublin, there's a website they can check out too.
There is. They can always check the Carnegie's website, dublincarnegie.com, or contact our Main Street office. We'll be happy to help.
Okay. Well, we're going to go for a break right now, but when we come back, we're going to talk more with Tara about the artwork here and also the Carnegie Library. So stay with us. You're watching Around Town. Welcome back, everyone. Elizabeth Graff here with Around Town, and we have Tara Bradshaw. Yeah. I'm so excited. We're here in the Carnegie Library, and it was built in 1904, and it was recently renovated, and there was a lot that you guys did. Now, when was it finished?
Well, we completed the first phase of this renovation in July. And that phase included refinishing the hardwood floors. We had to uncover them and refinish them. And then paint the entire building, the interior, repair some woodwork. So that was the first phase. Now, there's many phases and much work that could be done on this building to preserve it for the next 100 years. But we wanted to start there to make sure that we can get those doors open and get people coming inside to see this beautiful piece of architecture.
Now, I'm curious, is this one of the first things to be open to the public, the inspired Georgia Works?
It is. It is the first exhibit to be hosted here.
So it's like a 2-for-1. You know, come on in and check out the beautiful works of Georgia and the new renovated Carnegie Library.
That's right. It's the grand reopening of our Dublin Carnegie is what we're calling it.
How exciting. Mm-hmm. Now, there's so much. When you look around in here, we've got the arched ceiling and the tiles up on the ceiling, the beautiful... This was covered. The floor was covered, and you said carpet and tile. You uncovered, and everyone, when they uncover this beautiful wood floor, they're like, "Ooh, why was this covered?"
Yes, you know that's the question we find ourselves asking now. But styles come and go, and methods come and go when it comes to renovating buildings. And 30, 40 years ago, that was the way that it needed to be done. But we definitely wanted to come in and uncover these floors. And we went into this really not knowing what the condition would be. And it turned out that I'd say 90% of the floor was in perfect shape. They're beautiful heart pine floors. And the remaining places that needed to be repaired, we contracted with a lumber company and found 1890s era heart pine, and we replaced those areas with some flooring that would have been in the same era. So we tried to keep everything in the same era of the building to keep the historical value there.
Mm-hmm. Now, she had told me that when, in the 60s, they wanted to tear down this building and make it into the Chamber of Commerce.
They did. There was some talk, and from what I know, back in the 60s or 70s, to remove this building and demolish it and to put a new modern building of the time in its place, a low-profile building, and could you imagine what the landscape downtown would look like without it? And our beautiful chamber would not be where it is now. So I think it all worked out, and it was all because there was a group of local citizens that came in and said, no, this building is worth saving. And I'm so fortunate. We are all so fortunate to have those individuals, and they were all part of the Lawrence County Historical Society.
Yes. They had said it was all volunteer.
It was. They put a lot of sweat equity into this building to make it right, and so that it could be the Lawrence County Museum and serve the public in that way. And it just, over the life of these historical buildings, it just shows you that every 30 or 40 years they really need to be repurposed. And that's what this building went through, and those volunteers put a lot of time and effort into it and saved it. And could you imagine if we didn't have it now? And so we owe all of this to them.
Yes. I remember when my boys and we first moved here in Dublin about 10 years ago. And I'm curious about where I live, and we came over here, and it was a museum. And I couldn't help. I think the first response for me was, oh, look at the building, look at the windows. Oh, this is beautiful all in here. And then I was like, oh, I'm here for the items.
Right.
You know, the museum. And it's the same thing when I came in here to look around and to talk with you. I was, this is beautiful, the structure. And, oh, yeah, the artwork. So this is beautiful, the building and the artwork. And we're not the only ones who thought that. You said when the curator came in here, and I'm going to let Tara tell this one.
Yeah, interesting.
You're going to be proud.
Earlier we spoke about the art collection being a competitive process, and there was 9 cities chosen in Georgia to host it. And the curator, Ann Track, she has an art consulting firm in Atlanta. She works with the Georgia Museum of Art to put this exhibit together. When she was installing the exhibit back in July, she said that this is the most beautiful space that she has installed this exhibit. And I did check. I asked her if I could quote her on that, and she said absolutely. And so I was very proud that the curator, she really thought that this exhibit shined in this building, and they both really complement one another. But you hit on a great point that this building has so many details, and it's just so intricate and so important to our history that it really does shine. And it's going to be a wonderful it is a wonderful landmark, and we hope to make sure that it continues to be a really important landmark in downtown, and we want the community to use it. And so I thought that was really great that that was a wonderful compliment.
It is. Oh, I tell you what, people, when you come in here, don't feel ashamed if the first thing you notice isn't the artwork, and you come in and you're looking at the floors, the doors, the windows, and the ceilings. That is part of the artwork too. It's historical Georgia, and it happens to be right here in Dublin with the historical artworks that's all around. And when you walk in, to the left, to the right, all around, come on in, walk around, take your time, like Tara said. There's so much to look at. Look up close. It's so much details in the floor, in the art. I've got goosebumps right now just thinking about everything that there is to see in this building.
You are exactly right. There's so much between the moldings and the original lighting that was saved. It really is a treasure that we have, and that's what's so wonderful is that we want this building to be shared with the public. It is very important to our leadership through the city and through DDA for the community to use this building, and to the Friends of the Carnegie, which is a new group that's been created to sort of support the future of this building. And I know that group, they're very dynamic. I know that they're going to make sure that this building is here for a long time to come, and that it's used for the community's betterment. We want it to be open to private events or public meetings or whatever it can be. It'll also serve as a visitor center for our downtown guests, folks that are coming through as tourists. They can sort of start their exploration of downtown right here at the Dublin Carnegie, and I think that's going to prove to be quite a success for this building.
Yes, and to be able to come in here and to view the artwork like behind us. And I chose where we are right here so everyone can see this beautiful work behind us. And it's not, I mean, the floors, you know, the windows, the walls, but this right here, what people in Georgia in our past have you know, just put their talents on canvas for you to see. And it's here. And, I mean, I love it. It's beautiful.
It really is. And I think that it speaks and will open some doors to creating sort of an art district in our downtown. And we have so many local artists.
We do.
So many talented people, from performing artists to visual artists. And I hope that this building can sort of serve as a refuge for them, and that we can begin to incorporate some of our local artwork and create exhibits around them. And I think that it really speaks volumes about how important art is in our lives. You know, life is art, and so we want to make sure that we support that, and that's incorporated into our overall plan for downtown.
Mm-hmm. So tell everyone again about the days and times for
Sure.
the viewing of the Inspired Georgia.
Sure. The art collection is in Dublin now through September 11th. We're open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 6, and on Sundays from 12 to 6.
Okay, and if they want to know more information about downtown Dublin?
Contact Main Street Dublin, 478-272-2560, or reach us or find out more about the Dublin Carnegie at dublincarnegie.com.
And, of course, Facebook.
We are always on our social media, so anytime you need us, we'll be there.
All right. Well, Tara, thank you so much for having
Thank
us
you.
here. And I'm sure you guys are going to have a flood of people coming in. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. And we'll see you next time on Around Town.